The phantom car. The town of Ashfield had always been the sort of place where rumors brewed like strong coffee, potent and dark. But there was one story that even the most skeptical townsfolk avoided after dusk, a tale whispered only in dimly lit bars and around campfires. It was the story of the phantom car. They said it appeared without a sound on empty, foggy roads, headlights piercing through the mist, casting an eerie glow in the stillness of the night. Those who'd seen it swore it looked like an old muscle car, an old 1969 black Dodge Charger, gleaming in the dark as though freshly waxed. The strange part was it had no driver. The seats were always empty, and yet the car sped as if possessed, roaring like a beast with a hunger for blood. No one who saw it ever emerged unscathed. Some barely made it out alive. Others weren't so lucky. I'd always dismissed the story as local lore, something concocted to keep the kids from driving out too late or drinking on back roads. But all that changed one cold, misty night in late November. It was just after midnight, and I was driving back from a friend's house outside of town. The night had settled thick and heavy, blanketing the road with fog so dense I could barely see a few feet in front of my car. The air was bitterly cold, and my breath fogged up the windshield faster than I could wipe it clear. I'd taken a back road to avoid the main highway, wanted to make it home faster. As I drove, the story of the phantom car crept unbidden into my mind, and I laughed it off. But my fingers were tense on the steering wheel, a subconscious reaction to the chill creeping up my spine. I turned on an old Ashfield road, and my headlights illuminated a dense wall of fog ahead. The road was straight as an arrow, with fields on either side that looked like vast, empty seas in the mist. The silence was unsettling, broken only by the hum of my engine. Then suddenly the engine cut off. My car coasted to a stop, headlights dimming until I was left in pitch darkness. Panic surged as I tried to restart it, but the engine only sputtered and groaned before falling silent again. My phone had no signal, and as I glanced out into the dark, an uneasy feeling settled over me. And then I heard it, the faint rumble of an engine approaching, low and menacing, growing louder with each passing second. My heart raced. I looked into the rearview mirror, but all I could see was darkness, the dense fog swallowing everything beyond the back window. The sound grew louder, a deep, guttural roar that vibrated through my chest. And then, through the fog, I saw it, a pair of headlights, bright and unwavering, aimed directly at my car. I froze, eyes locked on the approaching lights. They moved unnaturally fast, too fast for the narrow road. I expected the car to veer, to slow, but it kept coming, bearing down on me with an unstoppable force. At the last possible second, I threw myself out of the car, hitting the ground hard as the vehicle sped past, missing mine by mere inches. But as I scrambled to my feet, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The car had no driver. It was sleek and black, an old muscle car glistening in the fog-dampened night, but the windows were empty. The seats were bare, yet it moved with purpose, as if guided by some malevolent force. And then, just as quickly as it had appeared, the car vanished into the fog, its roar fading into silence. I tried to dismiss it as a trick of the light or my mind playing tricks on me. But as the days passed, I couldn't shake the image of that car. I told myself it was nothing, but the fear lingered, settling deep within me. I didn't dare tell anyone. They'd think I was losing it, just another kid spooked by old town legends. And then it happened again. 2 weeks later, I was driving home late once more. This time, I took the main road, hoping to avoid whatever I'd encountered on Old Ashfield Road. But as I rounded a bend near the old town border, my car began to sputter. I cursed under my breath, heart racing as I pulled over. The fog was thicker that night, swirling around my car in thick, ghostly tendrils. I sat there, willing my car to start, hands shaking on the steering wheel. And then, faint but unmistakable, I heard it, the low rumble of an engine, drawing closer. I looked into my rearview mirror, and my heart stopped. The phantom car was back, its headlights cutting through the fog like knives. It moved with an unnatural grace, gliding toward me as though it were floating. I tried to turn my car back on, frantically twisting the key in the ignition, but it was dead, as if the very presence of the phantom car had drained all life from it. Panic surged as the car drew closer, its headlights flooding the interior with an otherworldly glow. I could feel its gaze. If a car could have eyes, they were locked on me, hungry and vengeful. Just when I thought it would collide with me, the car veered sharply, skidding to a stop just inches from my bumper. For a moment, it was still, silent, as though studying me, waiting. I stared into its empty interior, my mind reeling with terror and confusion. And then, in a sudden burst of movement, it reversed, tearing down the road and disappearing into the fog as quickly as it had come. Over the next few weeks, I became obsessed with the phantom car. I scoured the town archives, digging through old newspapers and police reports, trying to find any mention of it. And eventually, I found it, the story of a man named Jacob Byrne. Jacob had been a notorious street racer in Ashfield back in the 1970s. Known for his speed and recklessness, he had a reputation for pushing his limits. One fateful night, during a street race on Old Ashfield Road, Jacob lost control of his black Dodge Charger. Witnesses said he was going over 120 miles per hour when he crashed, his car bursting into flames on impact. His body was never found, only ashes and twisted metal left behind. Rumors spread that his spirit haunted the road, doomed to relive his final moments in the driverless car, eternally seeking a rematch, a chance to outrun death itself. I tried to tell myself it was just a story, a ghost tale spun from tragedy. But deep down, I knew the truth. I stopped going out at night, avoiding any place where the phantom car might appear. But it was no use. It followed me, lurking in my nightmares, filling my sleep with the sound of a roaring engine and headlights blinding my vision. I could feel its presence, always close, like a predator stalking its prey. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to face it, to end whatever twisted connection had formed between us. I drove out to Old Ashfield Road, my heart pounding as I parked my car and waited. The fog rolled in, thick and heavy, and soon I heard it, the unmistakable sound of an engine revving in the distance. My breath caught as the phantom car appeared, headlights gleaming through the mist. It stopped a few feet away, idling as if challenging me. I took a deep breath, steadying myself as I stepped forward, my voice shaking as I spoke. "What do you want from me?" There was no answer, only the low, menacing growl of the engine. And then, slowly, The car began to circle me, its headlights illuminating the ground around my feet. I could feel the weight of its gaze, a force that pressed down on me, suffocating. And then I heard it, a voice, low and hollow, whispering through the roar of the engine. "Res? Me?" A chill ran down my spine as I realized what it wanted. It was replaying that final race, demanding a competitor, a partner in its endless, cursed loop. It had no hook. My car was dead, and there was nowhere to run. I nodded, barely able to breathe, and the car roared in approval, its headlights flaring as it sped off into the fog. I ran after it, heart pounding, the mist swallowing me whole. The road twisted and turned, blurring as I struggled to keep up. And then, as I reached the bend, I saw it, the wreckage of Jacob Burns' car, twisted and blackened, smoke rising from the mangled metal. In that moment, I understood. The phantom car was trapped, reliving its death, unable to move on, and it had chosen me to join it. I was found on the side of the road the next morning, shivering and muttering incoherently about headlights and engines that roared like demons. No one believed me, of course. They called it shock trauma, a ghost story made up by a mind pushed too far. But I know the truth. I still hear it sometimes, late at night, the distant rumble of an engine drawing near, headlights cutting through the fog. It waits for me, lurking on the edge of my vision, haunting my every step. Because once you've seen the phantom car, it never truly lets you go. It follows relentless, patient, waiting for the day when you'll finally give in and take the ride of your life.